Now, Dan Bilzerian doesn't do anything like this, does he? He just sort of sells his lifestyle and has his weed brand, right?
I don't actually think Dan Bilzerian's like a fake guru in the sense that I usually say it. He's just a big joke. Like, because he just says he's rich and he's not really rich. He says he made his money. I mean, sorry. He said he's self-made wealthy. He's not self-made. His dad was a corporate raider in the 80s, and he's basically took a bunch of money.
A corporate raider?
For it. Yeah, like there were all these companies that their job was to take over other companies with like hostile takeovers, basically. Using basically some stock tricks. You're buying up majority shares of the company. You're basically taking possession of a company without them knowing that you're planning to do it. And a bunch of money made doing it. Paul Bilzerian did it. I'm not too familiar with the specifics of why his type of trading was particularly, because a lot of people were doing it, but he's one of the people who got arrested for it.
Okay.
And he owed the government like hundreds of millions of dollars. And the government has now gotten, I don't know, like $3 million out of him. Meanwhile, he shuffled all these accounts around. So his family lives in a mansion, but he technically doesn't own it, right? Like, oh, I don't own it, so I don't have the money. I don't know where any of this money is. It's all gone. But meanwhile, they're all living in the lap of luxury. And his sons, Dan, and he's got another son, basically have been trying to find ways to launder this money into actual, so it's not Paul Bilzerian's money. It's not obviously his. So Dan's cover story was, I won it in poker. I'm this genius poker player that no one's ever heard of, by the way. Like he hadn't appeared on any circuit. Like he appeared one time and he did like a loser's run in some poker series, but it wasn't like Dan Bilzerian was some big shot, Phil Ives or something like that. Like he wasn't known in the poker world. And so, but he's saying he made more money than almost any of these other professional poker players have made. And that's the way he was laundering the money. So that's what I sort of talked about. It's like, he's not a poker expert and he's got this like goofy lifestyle brand that spends twice as much money as it's making in weed sales, which is sort of the perfect weed business. You're spending twice as much as you're actually making.
Yeah. I found it weird that he does so many like podcasts. I feel like why, if I was that guy, I would not being like responding to all these interview requests from people like Brian Rose, for example, who did a podcast with him, or all these other like.
It's a great way to build your celebrity at a low time cost.
Yeah.
I think. Why did you find it weird? I find it totally believable.
Because I don't know. I just thought that, because I guess I didn't know as much about him as you did, but I thought like, here's this super rich dude who's surrounded by, who lives in this massive mansion in LA and Hollywood and surrounded by all these half naked chicks. If I have all that money, why the fuck do I want to spend my time talking to this nerd for, I understand if that's what you're interested in, but that doesn't seem like his brand. It seems a little bit off brand to be doing podcasts with people, when you're a professional gambler and, professional playboy.
Well, he's not really a professional gambler and hasn't been really doing it for a while. Ever since he's gotten popular, conveniently, the gambling has left the scene, which is kind of funny because if you weren't a real gambler, of course you wouldn't show people how good you or bad you were at gambling. But he's not really a professional gambler. He's a professional playboy guy. Like he just hires a bunch of models, takes pictures with them, or he says he says he doesn't hire them, whatever. And
when you have that big of a following, you don't need to hire him, right? You can just be like, oh, you'll be a social
100%.
Media celebrity if you hang out with me for long enough.
Correct. And so everything's about expanding his celebrity, and a lot of these podcasts, they'll do that. They'll expose you to 3 million new people who would have never followed you before.
Right.
And as long as you can seem semi-coherent, people will go, oh man, this guy's deep. He's really a thoughtful playboy. It's like, okay. Yeah, right.
That's funny, man.
One of my favorite things that like Dan Bilzerian, he goes, yeah, I'm not really like a pleasure guy. It's like your whole life is hedonism. It's the funniest thing to me for someone to be like, yeah, man, it's like pleasure won't really get you happiness, man. I'm just like, I'm after that happiness. It's like, come on, dude.
He says like pleasure won't get you happiness?
It's something, it's like that. Hang on. He said something like that. Yeah, I think that was actually what he said. But it was like this like thing that sounded really good. But I was like, dude, your whole life is set up to be the opposite of that. It's just funny to me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. When I see pictures of people, on Instagram taking pictures with Lamborghinis or Ferraris, I instantly I feel like there's a stigma now.
Oh yeah, you're a loser. If you're taking a picture still with a Lamborghini, dude,
You're just a total fucking kook, in my opinion, if you're doing that. And I don't think many people, I mean, other than like people that are in the FaZe clan, if you're in the FaZe clan and you're, you know, a hotshot video gamer, you
right.
live in the FaZe mansion, you drive a Lambo. But at least those guys aren't selling fucking slimy courses to people that are desperate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, the Lambo has become the status symbol of the douchebag. It's just like it went from the status symbol of the rich to like it's been so overused that it's now nobody who's rich probably wants a Lambo because they know, if you know of the stigma, you know, like, oh, that's not what I want. You get a car that people maybe who know and who don't. It's like, it doesn't matter. You know, you just find like, again, it really does come down to, it feels like what we advertise as success on YouTube is just a parody of what real success is. Because when you look at actually successful people, they don't feel the need to show off. They don't feel like Joe Rogan's a funny example. It's like that guy's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, especially after the Spotify deal. Does he dress up in some suit every day and project success? No, he doesn't need to.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure he has a nice car. Do you ever see it? No. He could buy it. Like, you don't feel the need to brag when you already got it like that.
Yeah.
And so the people who do brag all the time, you know, they don't actually have as much money as they're saying or pretending.
Yeah, you're totally right. You don't see pictures of his cars or his houses or anything like that. And he doesn't even like to talk about it either.
Yeah, any successful guy, unless their entire brand, like Bilzerian, I believe he probably does have a lot of money, but his entire brand is having a lot of money. So he of course is going to do it. But most successful people you talk to, they're not douchebags who just drive around in the Lambo. You'll never know they're worth as much money as they're worth, because honestly, it's a hassle. It's like when people know you're worth a lot of money, they want things from you. It's like you just keep it low key.
Absolutely. Well, cool, dude. I think that's 2 hours. I appreciate you doing this. This was a great conversation. I feel like we talked about some really interesting things.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think you have a cool podcast. It very much feels like I sort of feel what you're searching after, and I like it. I like your hunt sort of to learn podcasting for the art of it. Yeah, I love it, man.
Not only that, I think it's an interesting way just to learn shit, period. Totally. I've never been, I can tell that you're someone who's very well read and you enjoy, you know, reading and learning, and just from watching your video essays, I've never been like that. I just,
oh, you got to do it.
I've never been the person to just sit down and want to read a book for enjoyment. That's just not me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would like, I would like to develop that habit. I very much would. And I'm trying to, but this encourages it for sure. So that's another reason I do this.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is like, okay, you probably don't like reading for pleasure because you've never read for pleasure. Like you probably read some awful books. Like we don't teach people. The problem is it's kind of the same thing we do with everything. When we try to get people interested, we're obsessed with them like learning the classics, and we don't actually have them just do what they want to do, which is how you actually stoke an interest.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's very unfortunate. We're like, you have to read Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. It's like, dude, nobody wants to read Grapes of Wrath.
It's backwards.
It's totally backwards from how it should be. And so now you're left thinking, I don't know, I just don't like reading. No, you're reading probably some dry stuff from dry authors, and everyone just decided it's a great book, but it's not a great book for you. So yeah, man.
Do you like listening or reading better?
So I really have been listening a lot because it's hard to carve out time, and the audio you can fit in easier. But there is something about a book that I feel like you retain it a little bit better.
Yeah. I like how like on the Kindles you can like highlight shit and save it notes and export it later. Yeah. I feel like that's really helpful. I just got into that.
Super helpful. But if you're trying to listen, let me just say this before we go. If you're trying to read for pleasure, don't read self-development. Don't read all these books where there's a big takeaway at the end. Don't feel like you have to, everybody's after just like, oh, they treat reading as like an exercise in like education necessarily. And then they wonder why they don't enjoy it. First, learn to enjoy reading.
Like going to the gym, you mean?
Sorry?
Are you comparing it like they're treating reading as an exercise, like similar to going to the gym?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And it's like, if you just learn to enjoy this thing, it wouldn't be such a pain and you wouldn't constantly be kicking yourself that you're not doing the thing. Like a lot of people, they stay in shape because they found some way to enjoy exercise. That's the best way to do it. You like learn to play tennis, or you learn some sport where you're doing it. You don't even know you're getting in shape. You're getting in shape. The hard way to do it, really the challenging thing, is to go to the, if you don't like the gym, some people like it, but going to the gym every day, that's the hard thing. I can't imagine.
Yeah. And it's harder in the beginning, definitely, than once you get into the groove of doing things. Cause I mean, the hardest thing is taking the first step.
For sure. Listen, do you like fantasy or fiction?
I do. I love fiction.
Fiction at all?
I love fiction for sure.
Okay. Let me give you a suggestion.
Okay.
That if you take it, we'll send you down a rabbit hole. It's this guy, Brandon Sanderson. Get Way of Kings. I'm laughing because I've recommended this book to probably 20 people at this point, and probably 75% of them, if you get through the first 7 chapters, you will be hooked. It's going to be gonzo. You're done. And it's
Way of Kings.
Way of Kings. It's
what am I getting myself into? Can you give me a...
Sure. It's 800 pages.
Okay.
For the first book.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot, dude.
And there's 3 books out right now. The 4th book's coming out in November. And it is... You can't describe it. It's too epic. It's too epic. It's like, if you've ever enjoyed Lord of the Rings, if you've ever enjoyed any kind of book like that, it's just better than that. It's just better. It's a better world building. I don't know. You can't boil it down. It's like, how do you boil down 800 pages? You can't.
Yeah.
You'll love this book though. If you read it, we'll have to.
Yeah, I will read it.
Just call me.
I'll read it. I'll read it, and we'll do another one of these one day.
Do it on Audible. It's actually a really good Audible.
Okay.
And it's hard to read that much anyways. That's a lot of reading. So just go on a walk, take an hour walk, just listen to it. And again, by chapter 7, once you get your hands on what's going on, you're going to lose your mind.
Hell yeah,
and
dude.
You will start enjoying reading. That's the point.
Okay. I will do that, and I will report back to you, sir.
Okay.
Thanks for doing this, dude. I really enjoyed it. And I'll link your channels down below for people. Is there anything else besides your YouTube channels that people can go to follow more what you're doing?
It's fine. CoffeeZilla is where I'm posting right now. Coffee Break, if you want to watch the video essays that we talked about. And that's about it, man.
Cool, dude. Well, thank you again, and hope to talk to you soon.
And don't forget, guys, there's no shortcuts.